a piece of code manage to talk like a human and understand what a human is speaking with the same pitch and tone and with intentions in different languages. And then we understand what is actually conversational AI. And then we also saw what are the risks and challenges with the AI. But today, in this class, we will be talking about understanding what is responsible AI, right? So how do you make an artificial intelligence program that can actually will be scalable and can be used by every single person and it won't discriminate between different users, right? So these are the things that you keep in mind. You have to keep in mind. And this understanding responsible AI, there are a few, or you can say, pointers or things that every organization follows. So Microsoft have jotted down these things and have said that these are the principles that every single AI has to follow in order to be considered as an understandable, responsible AI. Okay. So first thing, we have fairness. So in common terms, we know fairness basically means treating people equally, right? But in responsible AI, fairness actually means every single user who's going to be using it, regardless of their color, culture, language, their dressing style, their sexuality, or any other things, they should not be discriminated. Right? You are just not allowed to discriminate, right? So even being ageist, that is not allowed. It means you have to make you have to write code so that a code that does not discriminate between any of the users. You are allowed to take the data, but you are not allowed to take the data and differentiate between users and give them different services. This is not allowed, right? So, and you cannot use their the data that you take from them in a very, you can say, mishappening way or in a profit way, which is unethical, right? That makes profit to you. So you can see this video how Microsoft AI actually accomplished these things. So how do they manage?
Make sure that the systems that we develop and we deploy reduce unfairness in our society rather than keep things at the same level or even make it worse. And for me, that's really the goal.
So now you can see in this video, you can see some people are handicapped and some people are not. So you cannot make an AI that could be only centering to handicapped people and will discriminate other people who can walk, or vice versa. You cannot make an application the other way.
We've seen a lot of news stories over the past couple of years about AI systems that are used to allocate or withhold opportunities, resources, or information in domains like criminal justice, employment and hiring, finance, credit. AI systems can reinforce existing societal stereotypes. Another example would be cultural denigration. We also have over and under representation.
So this video will take a lot of time. Let me just summarize it. In the previously I told you about that US government actually used a dating application information to categorize people on the basis of their eccentricity. Okay, for example, if a Latino person was using it, if a white person was using it, black person was using it, so that use the data of that dating application to actually categorize other people to see how many minorities are living in their nation. So you can see taking of the information was wrong, but was not wrong. But what did you do with that information? That was wrong. So that is where the fairness come into play. Now, the second thing comes the reliability and safety. Reliability and safety means whatever decisions there are AI will. There are many different kinds of AI that Pradeep also told us about. Some AIs have been also used to predict the outcomes of. You have to even some AI have been used to predict the outcomes for many large businesses. If they want to make any decisions, so they will be drawing data from the previous data they had, right? And they will find what should we do now. So the AI system will actually make a prediction. So that prediction should be reliable and safe. Right? It should not be based on some variables that does not play actual role or should not give any wrongful information that will cause like money sensitive loss to the organization. So right, so we have to maintain the reliability and safety. To do that, you always keep on updating you always keep on updating your system. For example, let's say that AI system is diagnosing someone's a medical report, right? And in the end, it says that the person is actually suffering for cancer, but this is not actually the case, right? So now you can see that what kind of trauma that a person will have to go through if that person discovers that he has cancer based on just wrong calculation by a system, right? So you make sure also that make sure of that also. And there are many AI technologies which are being used to make reliable and safe outcomes. So whenever you try to train your machine, your ML, you're using machine learning when you're trying to train your model. So your data that you have collected has been split into two parts. First is you can say the training data, and second data is called the testing data, right? And they are randomly distributed, but mostly out of same size. And then when after you are done training with the data, you test the data based on the random data that you have. And on the basis of that, your accuracy is being measured. Because you always know कि तुम्हारा outcome क्या होगा, right? So on the basis of that, you compare the outcome from your model to the outcome it was actually supposed to show. And if the difference is very less, then that is how you increase the accuracy of a system, and you make that more reliable and you make it more safe for many people to use. Okay, then we have privacy and security. As I told you, many this AI algorithms, they are taking a huge bunch of data every single time you might if you use Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. So this was I don't know if last year this was you can say kind of a guidelines given to the creators on the content. Pradeep Yadav sir also have a YouTube channel, right? So he must have also heard that if you want to you can say launch a video, or if you want to upload you can say upload a video onto a channel, the best what are the best timing from morning 9 to 10, and what are the best timing for the night, because at that time the users are very active. So how were they managed to say that at what time user traffic is much, right? So they take data, right? And they even said that for different countries it varies differently. For people who speak different language, it varies differently, right? For example, people in India, if they want to watch Hindi content a lot, at what time do they watch it? Right? This kind of a thing. And when you take this data from the users, then you have to use it very, you can say, so you can see now they did not mention what users use it. They just said users word. So you say by using the word user, they did not discriminate or they did not reveal anyone's identity. They just said you can broadcast at this time so that you can get the more views and your channel will do better. Right? So these are the concerns with it. Now let's take a more depth example. There are many security breaches cases in US. So a few. There was a case from you can say insurance company also, where the data of insurance company got, I don't know, corrupted somehow, and now the users were not the users who came for the insurance, they did not know how to claim, and the company did not have the required data. We cannot authenticate that you are the user of this company or not. So even if you take any security, you have to maintain that it should not get breached by anyone, and you have to maintain that it should not be accessed by someone who don't have the right authority, right? So that is where the privacy and security comes in play, right? Then we have inclusiveness. Inclusiveness basically means you include every single part of the society. For example, if you as I said, you cannot discriminate between peoples, and you have to be fair with every single one of them. But that does not mean you can exclude people just because they do not suit your algorithm. For example, let's say we are making an application for workers, right? So we cannot exclude blue collar workers, right? The one who do you can say most of the manual jobs, who let's say the street vendors or the people, the plumber, electrician. We cannot exclude them. We cannot just for example, LinkedIn platform. You can see that LinkedIn is not only made for people who have you can say software centric job or very high jobs, right? Even a person who is a plumber can use a LinkedIn. Right? A person can write about it and can seek job using it. So you always include every single one of them, right? So that inclusiveness is always supposed to be there in your AI system, right? Then comes the transparency. You will always see whenever the data is been collected by a company in the terms and conditions section, they will always tell you what kind of data they will be taking. For example, recently we saw that WhatsApp changed their guidelines. Basically, WhatsApp was actually doing this for a long time, but this time the WhatsApp made this public that they will be tracking the keywords that you use in your chat and will use that in the marketing strategy. It means, for example, if you're talking about any MI product, right? So they won't read your chats, but they will just see ki you have used the word MI. Right? So next time you're on Facebook or Instagram, they will show you ads from Xiaomi or MI, their products. Right? So this is what WhatsApp did. So WhatsApp had to tell their users ki now we're going to be taking your data. Right? They just cannot do it and not tell you. Right? So you always have to maintain this transparency that what kind of data you will be taking from the users and how will you be using it. Right? Facebook, and there was also one more. There was this Instagram post that I saw where you have to accept a cookie from a particular website, right? So there was on Google pages, it was said ki if the user accept the cookie, so the cookie will be stored on the user's desktop. If the user does not accept cookie, even then the cookie will be stored on the computer system, right? This was kind of you can say a bug could be there, or this was something you can say unethical. They were not supposed to store cookie into a user's device if that person has not permitted you to, right? So you have to maintain this level of transparency, and you cannot do that. Then you are at your company will actually face many lawsuits against it, right? Then we have accountability. Accountability is the most primal one you can see. As you can see that I told you about that things you have to make sure, and things you have to consider every single person you have to consider. You cannot discriminate, and etc. 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 But now, even if you're not able to deliver what you are supposed to, then what will happen? Then comes the word accountability. Who will be accountable for that? The person who actually made the algorithm, the company who sanctioned that this will be made in our organizations, whose product were used, who was the developer, and every single thing, right? So who will be accountable? So let's just take an example. Let's just play this video and see. You will get a better idea of it.
Despite all the complexity with these new models and with new technology that can be unpredictable and somewhat hard to interpret, we are still accountable for how our technology impacts the world. Second, I think about accountability as the structure that we put in place so that we make sure that we consistently are enacting our principles and that we're into account in everything that we do. Also, part of our accountability is to help our customers and partners be accountable. We have a set of principles that guide how we develop and how we sell and how we advocate for regulation on facial recognition, because we feel like all three of those pieces are really critical to be accountable. We think it has a lot of great uses, and we also think there are a lot of uses that could interfere with people's civil liberties or push society in a direction that we're really not interested in supporting.
So in moving from our facial recognition principles to practices and processes that we can follow across the company, what we've had to do is to take a high-level principle, such as our commitment to fairness, and think about how do we have our development teams view every stage of the development life cycle with those principles. So today we have a set of guidelines that they can follow and think about these sorts of considerations at every step of the life cycle. And that's really a first in this company, and I think in many other places outside this company as well.
So in this six principles video, in the accountability section, they only talked about the facial recognition function, right? So they won't be using the facial recognition feature, the data they collect from that, in a very unlawful way. And for that, they have very high principles and rules and regulation. It means every single time they have made something before selling and before accounting it and before deploying it, they will always make sure that it follow all the rules and the guidelines, right? But even if that is not fulfilled, now you can see we. When they say we, it means the entire company will be responsible for the things that they have made, right? So you can hold the company accountable for delivering the wrong thing, right? So that was all about the 6 principles of AI that you should remember if you're going to be working in this area. Now this is just a knowledge check, and if you want to go any more further, then you can even check many more things out. For example, this is this one. So you can use tools to create machine learning models. So there is a full, you can say, information over here. If you want to go through, you can explore. I am not sharing my screen, right? So here you can see you can explore natural language processing, you can explore conversational AI for beginners and for AI engineers. Both things are available. You can see how do you program in that, what tools do you use, how do you use them, how do you create instances in it. Every single thing you can find over here.
So Rubal, are free? We have to pay some money for this.
To do this, you don't have to pay money, but to run examples, right?
Okay.
For that you need subscription for Azure. For that you have to pay money, but you will get a free trial if you want.
Okay. Okay, Hertz. आपसे भी कुछ ऐसी उम्मीद कर रहे हैं सर. हर्ष, कुछ ऐसे ही बताओ आप भी. जैसे इनका प्रेजेंटेशन देखो कितना अच्छा था. आप किसी और भी साइट के रेफरेंस ले सकते हो IBM के अलावा, तो कंटेंट बहुत अवेलेबल है इसके रिगार्डिंग. थोड़ा एग्जांपल देखें. ठीक है, ओके, ठीक है, तब क्लोज करते हैं आज के बाद. थैंक यू रूबल.